and a major urban port city of the Midwestern United States. Here, in a quaint neighborhood in the southwestern corner of the city, is Highland Park. It is an older area which lies along the Mississippi River just north of Fort Snelling. And this is where our Casefiles Unknown story begins. Right here, near this small stand of trees across from the local Highland Park golf course. Today the scene appears normal and serene, not unlike any other spot dotting the woods near winding Edgecombe Road. But as you will see, the present can be deceiving, because the past can always tell us a different story. For it was on this spot 30 years ago that a young man lost his life under tragic circumstances. But for this man, Officer Barry Coyle of the St. Paul Police Force, the event would prove to be life-changing and shocking. For what happened here transcends the bounds of the world around us.
My name is Barry Coyle. I'm a commander with the St. Paul Police Department. Been on the job for 28 years. I'm currently commander in charge of the property crimes unit and the SWAT team. The thing about being a police officer is that you're in a position where you can actually be in the middle of the action, make a difference in how it turns out, protect the people that can't protect themselves, and on occasion actually find justice. The excitement of the job is like I said, something that I don't think you can get in any other profession. And to see people in all states, from very much down and out to the top of their careers, I don't think it can be matched by any other professions. It's been a great career.
On a cold and foggy night during the Christmas season of 1984, Officer Coyle would have no idea that his camera would serve as a silent witness to the unknown.
My partner and I, Mark Kempe, and I were on patrol, and we got a call for a vehicle accident with injuries. It was very foggy with a bit of a drizzle. The particular area where the accident happened was very poorly lit, and there was a curve. The vehicle had left the roadway and struck a tree. We weren't far away, and we responded. We found a young man who had been involved in the accident that was wedged underneath the dashboard. The young man had no visible injuries that I could tell, a little bit of blood coming from his nose. He basically looked like he was asleep on the seat. We pulled him out from underneath the dashboard and checked for vital signs and couldn't find any. Medics arrived and they pronounced him that he had deceased at the scene. So my partner and I then processed the scene with pictures and diagrams and wrote some of the reports. I know when we got out of the car, we saw the vehicle had left the road and had run into this tree. There were 3 young people standing around the car telling us that their friend was inside and was hurt. The picture that really shows the image I took from about this location. The vehicle was sitting there. At the time I took these photos, I really didn't feel that it was unusual. I had taken pictures of countless accident scenes prior to this and after. Other than the fact that it was extremely foggy and raining a bit, it was a normal scene, and we proceeded as we normally do. After we finished processing the scene, we went and we did the usual paperwork, filled out the reports, turned in the film into the property room. And during that time, the St. Paul Police Department developed their own photos. Didn't think much of it until a couple days later when I was one of the officers that worked in the photo lab got a hold of me and said that I should probably stop by because he had something that he wanted to show me. And he took out the pictures that he had developed from the pictures that I'd taken, and was fairly surprised at what we saw. And there were some images on the pictures that definitely weren't there when I was taking the pictures. And that I didn't have any explanation for. There were streaks of light, both red and white, that ran through the pictures, some of them coming from the images, some of them just passing through the pictures.
Apart from the streaks of light recorded at the crash site, there would be several other photos that seemed to reveal something even more extraordinary. So extraordinary, in fact, that Officer Coyle and others have been haunted by it ever since.
On the side picture of the vehicle, facing the driver's door, above the vehicle, about even with where the front seat passenger would be sitting, there was a clear image of a face. That appeared to be in agony, a scream. It had distinctive hair and a distinctive profile. I just couldn't explain what it was. The officer that processed the photos was speechless about the pictures. He didn't have any explanation for it. He said that he had been developing photos for years, hadn't seen anything like it. There was other images within the picture that almost, in my mind, portrayed the way that the accident happened. I had found out from the witnesses that when the accident happened, he had been sitting with his back against the passenger door, facing where eventually my camera location was, looking down at his lap. I found an image in the pictures that actually, in my mind, shows that same face looking at you, looking at his lap. Ahead of the main picture, there's another faint picture that looks very much like the main picture where the individual appears to be screaming. That's out over the hood and between two trees. A few years later, when I've got a copy of all the pictures, because I only had a copy of one picture for several years, I did go to several photo shops and showed the pictures to people that had been dealing with photographs for years. And they can explain some of the small things that are in each picture, but each of them told me that they can't explain all of the things that are going on in one picture. There's no explanation in my mind, and the experts haven't been able to give me an explanation either.
Officer Cole's story soon came to the attention of Echo Bodine, a St. Paul author and psychic. After repeated attempts to contact the policeman to no avail, Coyle finally relented.
I just remember her telling me that she thought that they were the most significant pictures that she'd ever seen. So I was very protective of the feelings of the family, and I was very protective of the effect they might have on some people who might have known the young man.
I felt as protective towards his family that Brian did, but I wanted to show them to my students. And at the time I was writing a book called Echoes of the Soul, and it was all about the soul's perspective of life, death, and life after death.
According to the witnesses, he was sitting with his back against the far door, looking at his lap, looking toward the driver's way, and that when they hit the tree, he was thrown forward.
I was so astonished when I saw these pictures, I was speechless. I was so excited that somebody was able to capture a soul on film in 1984. I mean, this was just amazing to me. This is not a ghost. This is not a earthbound spirit. This is someone who has just died and their soul is coming out of their body. So this is a soul. Now, as you can see, the boy is yelling. And that's one of the things about this picture, that upsets people so much is many people have said to me, I don't like seeing this picture. They want to believe that people are happy as soon as they die. It makes more sense to me that a 16-year-old would be very angry that he's deceased, because he's on his way with 3 friends to a rock concert. It's 2 days after Christmas, and he is suddenly deceased. And so it all makes a lot of sense to me. The colors of the energy, what he was thinking, that he's angry, that he's yelling in this picture. I would guess that he's yelling, no. That's what it looks like in the picture.
In addition to the shocking spectre of the crash victim and energy streams, there was one other enigmatic image that appeared on the driver's side door that caught Officer Coyle by surprise.
When you look at the picture they took that shows the driver's side of the door, in the door there's an image, a translucent image of a dog that's sitting there. It looks to be a chocolate lab type dog that's sitting looking at you over his shoulder. It's actually quite a clear image, and there was no dog on the scene.
What is so significant about this shot for people who have pets is that there's a picture in the photo of a deceased dog. The soul of his dog came to be with him, to take him over to the other side. And I have shown this picture to many, many people who have lost their pets, to show them that all of our pets have a soul. And obviously, it's very obvious in this picture that his dog came to be with him when he died and took him over to the other side with his spirit guides.
I didn't have a strong opinion on whether or not there was the existence of ghosts or spirits that remain after someone passes on. And when I saw these pictures, I held that same thought, is that it certainly looked to me like that was an image of that particular victim. It's been 26 years and people are still talking about them, and I still have people ask me about them, and the interest throughout the years has been really quite remarkable. I had no indication that this would be anything different than a number of other scenes that I'd been at. I know that people that I've met since then have told me that seeing the picture has changed the way they think about death. I know that in particular some nurses that work in an emergency room had convinced themselves that death was peaceful, looked at these pictures, and the images on the pictures aren't peaceful. The young man is obviously in anguish. And one of them came back and said that we had to readjust our thinking on what death was about. When you see them for yourselves, I think that you have to form your own opinions. And if it proves something that you believe to be true, so be it. When I'm asked what I believe I'm seeing in those pictures, is that until someone else can give me an explanation, I believe that I'm seeing the soul of that young man as it leaves his body.
For Officer Coyle, there would be no forgetting that fateful night in 1984 when he first came to this place. No doubt a memory that will forever remain with him for the rest of his life. Because somewhere in that fraction of a moment, perhaps for the first time in human history,